Now let's take a look at the power feed capability of the lathe. If you have a relatively long workpiece like this and you want to take a turning cut along its surface, and if you were going to reduce the diameter down to say half of what it is now, you'd have to take multiple turning passes along here. And that can get tedious using the hand wheel. You have to crank it down and then draw the tool back, crank it back, make another pass, and so forth. So with the power feed, that's a lot more convenient and probably a quicker operation. But the other thing with the power feed is it moves the tool much more smoothly. So when you're taking those final finishing cuts, you get a very nice even surface, which is difficult or maybe even impossible to achieve an equal level of quality turning it by hand. I've set up the camera here. I'm going to try to give you a view of the power feed in operation. So I have sort of a slightly rounded tip on the tool here that I use as a general purpose tool for facing and turning. And I'm going to turn the speed up to around 600 RPM. It's at about 660, which is fine. And now I'm going to engage the half nut lever. And I've already moved the tool in to where I want it. It's just a fairly light cut we're taking right now. And I'm going to cut up to that line, and then we'll withdraw the tool and make another cut a little bit deeper. So typically you make multiple passes and you have some specific end point, and depending on what you're doing, you may want to withdraw the tool at this point to keep it from cutting a spiral groove on the way back. It's not really important for what I'm doing here. Okay, we'll take another pass now, and I'll turn the speed up to, let's go up to about 800 RPM. Alright, so in a typical turning operation, you may make 2 or 3 or 4, depending on how much you need to reduce the diameter. You'll make a number of what are called roughing cuts, which are relatively deep and fast cuts. And then to get a really nice finish, you typically will make a final finishing pass or finishing cut that's just a few thousandths deep, maybe 4 to 5 thousandths. And with the tool doing less work, it'll usually give you a pretty nice finish. I didn't go in quite far enough here. I lost track of where I was while I was talking. So that's our light finishing pass. So there we go. That's, I think, a pretty good example of using the power feed to turn a section of a workpiece, and it creates a pretty nice finish on it. Well, I've mentioned before that this lever here, called the half nut lever, locks the carriage to the lead screw, and let's take a look at how that works and why it's called the half nut lever. I've removed the threading dial from the right side of the carriage so you get a view back in here, and it's called a half nut lever because there's a nut essentially that's been split in half. In fact, sometimes it's called a split nut, but the two halves of the nut move in and out under control of this lever and grip onto the threaded lead screw. And of course the threads have to match up, so sometimes if the lead screw is not in quite the right position with respect to the carriage, you may have to move the carriage back and forth a little bit to get it to engage, because the threads have to lock up like so. Okay, now I'll start the lead screw rotating, and now we can engage the half nuts, and change the angle here, and you should be able to see now that the carriage is moving slowly along, being powered by the lead screw. And of course the hand wheel is rotating. Then to stop the motion of the carriage, you simply lift the half nut lever to the up position, and that disengages the half nuts from the lead screw. Another use for the half nut lever is if you don't have a carriage lock built into your carriage, which this lathe does not come with from the factory, you can lock the carriage down to the lead screw when the lead screw is not turning, to prevent the carriage from moving backwards or forwards, particularly backwards when you're taking a facing cut. You don't want the carriage to move while you're taking a facing cut, so you can lock it down here and use the lead screw as sort of a field expedient carriage lock.